There we go. What is up, everybody? It is Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care, also co-sponsored by Dad Central Canada's National Fatherhood Organization. And through that collaboration, being part of that team, reached out to over 100,000 fathers around the world last year. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And it's not green today, it's red. Ryan Knight.
Okay. Yes.
All right. A little bit of a technical difficulty, but we are here now. So, Ryan, go ahead.
There, no worries, no worries. Always so glad to be here with you, Dr. Vibe. For those that don't know who I am, my name is Ryan Knight, one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. So we work with entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage and really to figure out what stage they're in and then help them create a blueprint to grow their companies. I also run a business called Detail Ignites. So we go to people's houses and their offices, cleaning their cars on the spot without using any water. And so happy, even though it's raining, we are officially like kicking off the season today and this weekend. So we actually partner with a pretty cool company called Neighborino. So what they do is create neighborhood conversations at buildings. So we're going to be pretty much a service that they're offering to members of their community. So we're going to be in Toronto, and we're also next month launching a partnership with a co-working space called Loft. So stay tuned for that. If you work at Loft, you're going to be seeing Detail Ignite showing up as a service offering. So you can be working on your business while outside your car is getting cleaned. So stay tuned for those announcements.
Okay. All right. Like what?
Yes, what? Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, this is good. This is good. So what's been going on the last few days?
You know, actually, I was in Hamilton yesterday. We're like trying to extend the business services of ACBN. So, and that I don't want to segue too quickly into our guest, but that's why I'm so excited about our guest today. But yeah, being out there, I felt like I was more productive in that. Maybe it's because I was just zoned in, and so being able,
or maybe you're outside. Maybe you're outside the GTA. Maybe that's why.
Is it still called GTHA? I don't know if they still say.
That's a good question. Yeah. GTHA. Yes.
Right. I hear that.
I'm beginning to hear a little about that recently. The GTHA. Yeah.
But other than that, doing some on Wednesday, we had our info session for grants. And today we actually have our working group. So people that came to the info session, if they wanted more assistance to really get that application in, which is the Digital Main Street $10,000 grant. So don't miss that one. And they're also running a $2,400 grant. So it's like $12,000 sitting there waiting for entrepreneurs to apply for it. So I tell people, don't miss it just because you didn't get your application in. So see us today at 1:00 if you want to join.
So a few questions in regards to that grant application. First of all, was it well attended, your presentation?
Yeah, I think we had almost 30 people.
Okay. That application, that's for the Ontario government?
Right. Yeah, Ontario.
Okay, so question, is part of the requirement of that qualification companies having registered their business?
Right. Yes. So you do have to be registered either as a sole proprietor or incorporated.
All right. Yes. So before we get to our guests, I think I don't know if it was you and I had this conversation. People, you know where I'm going, right?
Yes.
Okay. If you want a grant, you got to register your business.
Because that's where, if you're happy with keeping the business small, you're just doing maybe a cash thing under the table, fine. But I get these companies that come to me and be like, oh, but I'm looking for a funding for the business, whether it's grants or loans. You have to get registered, and that's the only way I've seen it really unlocks a lot more of the funding.
Because you can't play checkers, you need to play chess. Like, even if you're operating on your own, I know times are tough, but even if you have to borrow, in Ontario it's $60 for a sole proprietorship.
Yes.
Look, $60. Take the $60, don't spend it on some, I don't know, clothes or things. $60 in Ontario.
Open you up to so many more options.
Right? I'm saying this because Brian is, and I hear the same thing. Oh, I want to get grants. Is your business registered? No. So I said, okay.
Right, let's start there. But then there's a grant to help you actually get registered. So, hey, plug in. That's why I come to the info sessions on Wednesdays. We do them every other Wednesday. So this is where you learn about grants you can use to get those business services done for your business. And then you can open up to the bigger grants and the different funding that's available, because there's a lot of money flowing right now.
Absolutely. And I'm going to encourage something. Now, this is a little bit of a bigger lift, but for a different type of organization. If you're a nonprofit, if you can, get your registered charity status.
Okay. I'm on the fence with becoming a charity. I feel like,
no, I said if you are.
Yeah, I mean, like, as a nonprofit, because with ACBN, I noticed that charities that we work with, they're very rigid. And so if you're ready for that scrutiny, definitely it opens you up to so many more funding opportunities. Like, you can get donations properly, and also a lot more grants are available. But you do lose, I would say, the agility of being able to do more with your nonprofit. So if you're looking for more funding, charities,
exactly. That's where I'm coming from. If you're looking for more funding, and if you're a nonprofit, that opens up opportunities for you. And it can come at a cost, but just be aware that if you're looking for more money, don't play checkers, play chess.
Yes.
I'm not saying it. Anything else go on this week?
Nothing specific. It's more, we're just preparing for our April meeting, which I'll touch on more at the end of the show, but really trying to get more organizational leaders together, talking on a consistent basis. So it takes time. I feel like emails don't work, text messages don't work. You have to call people.
Call them,
Listen, we want to learn what you're doing and see how we can support. So the phone calls are very important.
Yeah, and people don't think phone calls are important, but one of my longtime mentors, I'll mention his name, Claude Diamond. He's one of the first things he said to me is, Dr. Vibe, give good phone.
Okay, right.
Give good phone. Give good phone. So actually, before we get to our friend from Hamilton, I had a great experience yesterday. Actually, one of the individuals I'm very blessed to mentor, she and her family are based in Maryland.
Okay.
And they visited Toronto over the last few days. They came for the first time up in August, and they came up because their plan is to move to Toronto by 2024.
Okay, so they're like scouting.
Oh yeah, nice. So we had a chance to meet for about half an hour. Yes, it was a great time and fantastic. What else? One of the one intern I had last summer used me. He had a job interview coming up, so he asked me to prep him for his job interview. And then another intern who I'm using, who's working with me right now, he applied for a job at Microsoft and said, well, like, why didn't you tell me? I could have given you help. And I asked him, did you ask some questions at the end of the interview? No, not really. I said, what?
Right.
But he did say, going forward after he finishes his internship, he wants to stay in touch. And he says if he doesn't get the job, he's going to apply for his master's in digital marketing.
Okay.
And part of the process is he's got to get a teacher reference and an outside of teacher reference. So he asked me if I could be his reference. So Excellent. That was
good luck to him.
Yeah, so we're speaking at that'll come through, but Hamilton is waiting, so please introduce.
Yes, absolutely. As I said, I'm excited to bring up our guest because, and it was from a phone call where we were talking, trying to figure
Yay!
out what could we be doing to support each other's organizations. And so out of that, ACBN has been able to partner with ACCA, the Afro-Canadian Caribbean Association in Hamilton, and their executive director is Evelyn Myrie. So we have her here today to learn more about her, the person, and also the work that she's been doing in the community for longer than I have. And I feel like I have so much to learn, and I always appreciate our conversations. So thank you for making some time for us today.
Well, thank you for the kind invitation this morning to be a part of this. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So Ms. Myrie, a pleasure to meet you finally. I have a quick question. Did Ryan behave himself in Hamilton yesterday?
He's a really good, well-mannered person, and he behaved
Oh my
perfectly well.
gosh.
Yes.
Oh
So, no,
my good.
yes, Ryan certainly is someone who emulates positivity and always giving positivity. So I appreciate him being at our
Thanks.
organization yesterday. And his
Man,
commitment and passion to the community is outstanding.
fantastic. Well, I have never met you before, and I'm sure other people who are watching this globally have never met you. Could you give a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. We've met only in the virtual world, being a part of the many engagements on this and other platforms, Dr. Vibe, being a part of mine, meeting of the minds, yes, and
Yes.
many other engagements over the last 2 years with
Mm-hmm.
COVID being the center of our lives. So my background is I came from Windsor, Ontario. Grew up in Windsor, a Jamaican child who arrived in Windsor and attended grade 10. So I went right into high school, finished University of Windsor, and started my life's journey around this work in Windsor, being mentored by people like Daphne Clark, who was a founding member of the immigrant women's movement, because as we know, within the women's sector, if you're not a white woman, you're not a woman. So in terms of funding, right? So we made sure that the voices of immigrant women and Black women were captured in discussions around equity and in the feminist and the gender movement. Um, so that's my background from Windsor. And then I got a employment in Hamilton with the Secretary of State for Canada, running the women's program, disability programs, and Indigenous programs here in Hamilton. And later on, I got involved with as an executive director for starting with the group called Peel Newcomer Strategy Group. It's still running in Peel. I was the first director hired there to set up the office and to get it started by setting up a planning table for the city of immigrants for the region of Peel, and came back to Hamilton to work for the Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion. And now I'm on my own doing my consulting company is Empower Strategy Group. I'm indeed the president of the Afro-Canadian Caribbean Association. So I'm in a governance role, but in many of our Black organizations, the capacity issues face us. So I stepped in to kind of be a quasi operation, which is not really a great model, but we have to do with what we have. So I've been the face and appears to be an ED or CEO. And I do play that role from time to time, stepping in and out off. So what we're definitely now looking for to address that piece. But I've been sort of helping to transform what the organization that our grandparents and our uncles founded when they arrived in Canada, kind of a cultural expression organization as opposed to a service delivery. And if they did do service delivery, it was very not in a formalized structure. Someone call, you respond, you attend a family to go to school to challenge these, the expulsion, or go to the police services to challenge an issue, but not in a structured way. So the organization was founded. I went right into it. Sorry. The organization was
No.
founded.
Hey,
Please do.
we're just steering the ship. You're driving the ship. So go for it.
Okay. So the Afro-Canadian Caribbean Association was founded mainly at the time in the 70s, the late 70s, as a way to, as more of a cultural organization, a cultural retention kind of a platform, similar to the many across the country, from JCAs to whatever they are in Calgary and Winnipeg and those places. And so the organization here is really has really grown through the membership who saw the need for a place to create a place of safety for what Maya Angelou described as escaping the white gaze, a space where people can sit together, feel comfortable, feel validated, and to then plan activities or programs or strategies to move our community forward. And in so doing, this organization made up of very working class Caribbean people. They're not the ones who they send their children to university and college and post-secondaries, but many of them did not have that opportunity. But in so doing, the point I'm trying to make here is that they created a foundation and in fact saw the vision and the need for real estate and purchased 2 buildings in the community with their grassroots fundraising, the reggae nights, the calypso nights, the jerk chicken dinners, and so forth. And we are very pleased to say that we have 2 buildings. One is a banquet center owned 100%, no mortgage on it. And we also have a rental space where we have our office, and also we rent out to community organizations. So we do have that's happening here in Hamilton. So sometimes we do not take the time to reflect and thank the visionaries, the pioneers who didn't have a PhD, who doesn't meet with very prominent Canadians, but they had the vision and the passion and commitment to make a difference. And in Hamilton today, we want to thank those ancestors. Some of them are still alive, some of them have passed on. And my job is to hold space for the next generation of leaders to take this further, to scale and to build and what we have created. So I'll just stop so you could ask a question.
Well, I'm so curious, and I don't know if you'd have insight into this, but what was missing? And again, you don't have insight to this, but I'm curious why more organizations didn't take that path, where in Hamilton they had the foresight to say, hey, we need to own our buildings. And now we see what's happening in Little Jamaica, where a lot of the store owners didn't have that foresight to own the buildings that they're working in. So what do you feel is missing in our Black community to have those more powerful conversations?
Well, I could tell you that one of the driving factors for these people is that the rejection that they faced when they tried to rent spaces at the time. So there was a lot of pushback. They attempted to use someone's space and they were oftentimes turned down. And there were so many restrictions placed on them. You can't do this. You have to leave by a certain time and so forth and so on. Right. And they felt, we do not need to be pushed around in our new home in Hamilton. So we should buy our own building. And that's really was a driving factor. Unfortunately, that kind of a push, maybe it's not, I want to say that, but the fact that there was a lot of pushback and increased extreme racism, and also, was a big factor that they will not be pushed around. So, so we want to create something by us, for us. And they spent their life just raising money. That's all they were doing, raising money to acquire a space.
Yes.
Now, what they want to do with the space was another subject. We could talk about that. But they wanted the space, and they're emotionally tied to this space. Many times I talk to our financial people, and they're like, why do you guys need a building? And I would never take that to the membership to say, do you think we should, get rid of our property? They are, maybe it's trauma informed, but the rejection was had been so strong against them accessing spaces for their cultural events. They told us that they were the last one being called. The Jewish community here in Hamilton would, allow them to use their their centers.
Mhm.
But many times they were rejected when they were having cultural events. So they're like, we're going to get our space because so nobody could push us around. And
Makes
if
sense.
I ever mention about getting rid of that, I would be, taken to the barn. Not that I would, but just the whole notion of
Right.
even looking for another way to scale. They're so tied to this fact that we
But
raise
yeah.
money and we want this building to stay. So
Well, I was just curious, do they have plans for the two buildings? Like, is there kind of things that they're working on to utilize it and optimize it?
we're working on that. The space downtown is renovated. The one that we rent for the offices, we are renovating that so it becomes a community hub where young people can use more and more to have planned events. We also work with different cultural communities like African continental groups who use our space. So we're really building that out so that it becomes a community space. For
Hey, and ACBN too, we're a tenant.
That's right, you're a tenant, exactly. And the other one, the banquet center, we're just wanting to. It's a challenge only because they wanted a space that they can call their own. So it has to be utilized more as opposed to waiting for Friday night to use it. So really developing a plan around that and building it out. So if you call to say we want to rent for a wedding, we can give you a full suite, en-suite services, as opposed to, well, the rent is this, you can use the kitchen. We need to develop a system or a social purpose enterprise where we have, and we're looking at that, where we have, people come and rent, and we have the full suite services from linen service to, we have a chef with a menu. Right now, you bring your own. You come in and you rent the space, and it's not really the way I think we need to remain. Right. But that's something our board is looking at, definitely.
Evelyn, I have a question. From your lens, how has the pandemic and post-pandemic impacted your community?
The pandemic has kept people away, and there's been a lot of social isolation issues facing seniors in particular. So we haven't had the kind of robust engagement like all across the country. No one has. But it also forced us to become more innovative, where we're offering more innovative services to our clients. So we have food delivered, cooked meal delivered to African Caribbean seniors. We also have a program we've designed called Grandparent Program, where a young person calls in to a senior every 2 weeks at the minimum to build. We call it the Virtual Grandparent Program. We would never have thought about that in the past. So and this it creates a more intergenerational bond and also mitigate around a social isolation. It really allows us to really look at innovative ways to build the organization and serve people better. I think we've had some archaic ways of, not archaic, but just the space has to be used in a certain way. We have to look at innovative ways to engage our clients and our members. So we have more and more online services. We have a mental health program that we have counselors who the call in as opposed to online, I should say, as opposed to in person. So we've had to pivot to an online platform more than anything else. It's also, the negative, it's really created many challenges as well in terms of funding. It also has issues around connecting and building our community, because we have, just like any other areas across Canada, we have a diverse Black population. And one of the challenges we face is to ensure that we have a unified group of people working together. So we are really reaching out to African continental communities, from the Congolese community to the Cameroonian who use our place every month, to the Nigerian community and Ghanaian community. And I want to share this really positive story. Is we are doing we're repairing our roof. And for the first time, we have one of our African continental communities, the Ghanaian community, send us a check. That's our contribution to this organization. And it didn't happen overnight. We were building that relationship, and we have to bridge that gap. We have to be intentional. And if it means the Caribbean community have to take the extra step, let's do it. It doesn't matter who does it. We have to build a stronger bond of cohesion and work better together. So our space is open to the African communities, the African continental community members to utilize. We are there to support all of our blackness, all of us in the diversity of our blackness. And it takes leaders to do that. Whether someone down the road say I'm not African or a Jamaican says I'm not, that's irrelevant. Leaders need to take the position of building bridges. And I sometimes go outside of what some of my membership might think, because I do have a passion for Pan-Africanism. That's my background. So my job as the leader is to build those bridges, and in an authentic way. It's not just because it's a strategy. It is authentic. I believe it. I believe that Black people need to hold hands, build across from Zimbabwe right back to the Americas. So definitely, that's one of the vision that I have as a leader, is to do that.
And so I would love to go a bit deeper into your vision for the Black community, and not just your organization, but what do you feel like is missing, and what would you want to see happen, let's say, over this next 50 years? I'll give you that big of a timeline. What is your vision for the Black community, and what could we be working towards?
Mm-hmm. I think step by step. I don't think we have to this macro picture. It's really leaders who have the vision and commitment around what is our common vision, and how can we, in our own space, start to drive change. It's not going to be at a macro level. It's going to be step by step. So, for example, here in Hamilton, as the Afro-Canadian Caribbean Association, we decided that we want to broaden our membership at the board level. For example, in the past, it was mainly Caribbean people on our board, Caribbean background people. We have made a decision that we want to build bridges, and we want to bring and invite other African continental communities to join our board. That's one step. So it doesn't have to be this, phenomenal step across the country. It is each of us in our own agency having to live with the principles of Ubuntu, having to operationalize the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And when we then get together, we have a framework by which we operate. It's not a magic. It's no magic. I'm not here we need to be unified. I don't even listen to that conversation, because it's just this pie in the sky. We're human beings, and we're going to make lots of errors. But we, as individual leaders, can make decisions about our organizations and our mode of operandi, and then we scale up, we build and connect across the country. And when we meet together, we are operating on one framework. And if it's, we have decided as an organization that we are embedding the Kwanzaa principles. It's not a celebration we see at the 26th of December. We do not see Kwanzaa as a 26th of December to the January 1st event. We see it as the way we do business. So every time we design a program, we connect it back to one of the 7 principles. How do we operationalize this to really live the true meaning of our people loving each other, supporting each other, and building each other up? So it's not this big pie in the sky. It's really all of us as leaders, and our values and our vision, and how we then knit it together across the country. All right. It takes a lot of work.
Just to interrupt, so you have a fan club member here, Hayton, saying, Evelyn, you're absolutely my new hero, and you're sowing seeds to unite us all. The Macmillan Group, good morning, everyone. I started venturing out to Hamilton around 2001. Where I met one of my mentors and was surprised at the strength and cohesiveness in the community.
Thank you.
Also, property ownership rates event as investors was significantly higher than the GTA, even though the Black population was relatively small. Leadership is key.
Yes. We're so happy to work like what we're now doing. So we are this multicultural, we are this ethnic agency, right? Black community. We do a little reggae shows, we do blah, blah, blah. Now we respect that. I didn't mean to minimize it. It's important that we retain culture. But I think we need to be really serious about becoming a multi-service agency, developing, designing, and implementing programs for us, by us. I think it's if we don't do this now, there's no other time for this to happen. So we are now developing programs at the organizational level for us, by us. It doesn't matter where you come from on the continent or in the Caribbean or Canadian or the Americas. We just want to build more programs, and we want to become, in the next 5 years, Ryan, the leading, well, we are already the leading, a best practice organization in not only in Hamilton, but across Canada, that's serving the Black community, really embedding principles of Kwanzaa and Ubuntu into the way we operate. So
Yes.
that's the vision that I have. And to me, the core question that comes to mind is, do we truly love our people? To me, if you have that, I think you're halfway there, honestly.
Yes,
I
I,
yes.
think a
I,
lot of
I,
people talk a lot of
I,
stuff, but I just
I'm,
can't, you know.
I'm
Right.
going to respectfully interrupt and say I think even goes lower, even more deep. Not do we love ourselves?
Right.
Because you can't love other people
Mm.
unless you love yourself. And again, it gets back to my core three. Ryan knows I'm going to talk about
Right.
trauma, repetition, and symbolism. And I think that's one of those three things impact many people who look like us. And I think the trauma thing, loving and working with each other, it all starts with each one of us.
Absolutely.
We have to start with loving ourselves, and that it grows from there. um, for people who are watching this
Mm.
live or in the replay, we're just showing you the website of the organization. And what I know, you had mentioned some of the services that you offer. Are there any other things that we should know about that your organization offers at this present time?
Well, we've just developed our mental health piece, and I'm really excited to partner with Ryan's team, the ACBN, to help to connect Black businesses in Hamilton to the resources to build their capacity and for them to scale. Lots of time there are offerings out there about supporting the community, but it's not hitting the ground. This is the biggest challenge we have. We do a lot of policy work, which is important to do, but in terms of helping, you know, the local Caribbean or African restaurant person develop his brand, is developing his customer service, scaling his business. That's really what I want to see. And people will have belief and faith in all this talk when they
Yes.
see things happening. And that to me is a huge area that we in Hamilton would like to work closer with organizations like ACBN to help the man on the street, not just conceptual. We have too much conceptual frames as opposed to reality. There are people out there who have stores who do not know how to market. They have challenges in using the digital platform. And so we definitely need someone to hold their hands. And ACCA want to partner. That's not our background, but we find the people with the expertise, like the Ryan's organization, like ACBN, to come in and help us deliver on that. And to me, if we can collaborate that more, as opposed to everyone trying to be experts in each field, all fields, then we might be able to have better outcomes. So that's really what I'd like us to see us do, and to build cross coalitions, I should say, with the Black community across the region. We are pretty isolated here in Hamilton. It happens that I personally has been involved in community work for a very, very, very long time, and I know many, many, many people in Toronto, the GTA. I mean, I know just about the older generation, the new generation that I'm not knowing as well. But the Jean Augustines, the Akua Benjamins, and so forth. Those are some of my heroes. But it's because of me being connected to the GTA why we even having this conversation. We are just too isolated, and there's not enough people or organizations reaching out to support the urban areas, the rural areas of Ontario. There are so many of us out here from Hamilton, London, Windsor, and we're so operating in silos, and we need to sort of create ways to have better conversations. I know attempts are being made nationally through the support BBI. Yeah, BBI. We have a base camp platform where we communicate with each other, but we need to do a bit more from the GTA to connect with people in this part, Southwest Ontario, Niagara, and so St. Catharines and really build a more robust Black voice, not only in social, but economical and political sphere. So that's really some of the, there's so many things I could talk about, but
Yeah,
I
I
think
know.
there.
That's why there's a part 2 coming. Have a question. There's a question from our audience, saying, have you considered changing your name to perhaps include other Black nations, maybe Afro and Caribbean?
Right. Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, in terms of the founding members, and that's one of, we want to also be respectful, but we do recognize, and I recognize very clearly that I would actually, in fact, this week I had a conversation with our community around some of our members, just talking, over coffee, about removing a geographic name to becoming more of a maybe an iconic name, as opposed to when you come down to see the Afro-Canadian Caribbean Association, should it be called the Sankofa Hub? I'm just making that up. Sorry, I'm not changing the name. People out there, please, my members, I'm only suggesting we need to look at ways that brings us together beyond the geographic boundaries. That is problematic, and it certainly is a barrier to convincing some of my colleagues from the continent, who I love dearly, and try to say Afro-Canadian means Black, and they're like, well, so that conversation is not lost on me. Timing is always important, and we have to do things respectfully that really honors our founding members, and how do we bring them to that place. So that's where we are. It is certainly something that I deeply believe need to be looked at. And also, but I don't want to, just, be arbitrary.
Yeah.
Ryan?
As you mentioned, like piece by piece, conversations like that doesn't happen overnight. But I was curious to step back a bit to, you talked about the business, how you want to expand the work that you do with businesses. So what questions do you typically get from business owners in Hamilton that you want to be able to provide better answers for?
Questions like, how do I get a grant or a loan? Where do I go for support? Those are the main. Access to capital has been a big issue, more so. I believe, however, that some of the areas that we could tighten up on is around customer care, branding and marketing. Because I think some of these businesses are not reaching their full potential because of those areas. But most of the time, the questions they want to know relates to access to capital. Mm-hmm. That's really where how do I get some resources? Where can I get some grants to build my business? I was just speaking to someone yesterday who started a really great restaurant called, I'm going to give a shout out, Famous Jerk. And I said to them, are you aware of digital mainstream? And they were not aware of it, for example. So I'm going to connect Ryan or ACBN to that, and it's definitely connected them to you. And I know two other people reached out yesterday wanting to connect with you as well, with the organization around the business piece. So letting people know the possibilities, what's possible, what are some of the key factors in scaling your business. I don't think people know that. People just want to open a restaurant, but there's no long-term thought to how we're going to scale this. Do I make it a franchise? I keep saying we start off with a little Caribbean restaurant and it goes really well, but I don't see it replicated in different region areas. So maybe the next generation will do that, right? So it's all a part of the ecosystem.
Yeah, if we have anything to do with it, 100%, because that, as I'm seeing the changing of the guard, I would say. So you're seeing Randy's on Eglinton, and who was talking to them about franchising or licensing. So now that we can have those conversations, the next time you see a Randy's-esque type business in our community that, hey, is doing well in their one location, duplicating that, I think, needs to be the conversation we're having with them, because that brand or the licensing that, what did you just call it, a Famous Jerk? That the
yes,
I mean, that could be across Canada, like Famous Jerks on every corner. So having that Tim Hortons, even Sunrise, I think needs to start teaching more about how they've been franchising their organization, because that's something that hasn't really been taught in our community. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that.
There's a comment here: collaboration is critical. Many are functioning in a vacuum and don't get out there 2 square mile comfort zone. Take time to take the local roads and see what each other are doing. I agree.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that COVID has presented us, one of the gifts. We have had much more engagement with people outside of the Hamilton area than we've had in the past through our many platforms. And we've maintained relationships or connections to many of them being a part of our mailing list and regular members of join the online events. So and people have learned a lot about the ACCA, and similarly we have learned a lot about people in BC which we've never heard about in the past, right? So that's one of the positive outcomes of being an online and with COVID coming. Yeah.
You had mentioned a few minutes ago about the older guard.
Yes.
And two-part conversation piece. Do you feel there is a gap between the older guard and the younger guard? And if you feel that there is, what are some of the suggestions that you would have to close that gap?
Yeah, there is. I hear stories a lot around experiences in the UK. These are anecdotes I hear every time. Well, when I was in England, this happened to me, and my sister was married to somebody who decided to do this to her. And you can't trust certain people from certain parts of the world within the Black diaspora community. So it's really a lot of personal stories people share. The older guards share. They're not a group of, say, even small political voice. It's just that they've had really bad experiences and they use that to shape their thinking. And there's so really to bringing new people around our table has been one of the ways that we have made some shifts, bringing people from different communities to the table, and really quite frankly, breaking bread together. It sounds very cliche, but it does have its positive impact. I remember our first member from French Africa on the Afro-Canadian Caribbean Association board. And over time, the relationship that was built and forged among the older people who started the organization, and this individual has been really, really long lasting and still remains. So it's really bringing people together, having conversations. It sounds small, but it's important to at least start dialogue and hearing different points of view, see if we can share similar values. And I really believe it's incumbent on us as longer time Caribbean or African Canadians here. I think I believe that it is incumbent more on us to invite the visitors, as in the more recent immigrant in, and keep asking for them to come into the space, as opposed to, well, I've asked and no one came. I really think it's about leadership and commitment to Blackness. And if you have that person whose commitment to excellence of Blackness in all our aspects, that will happen. I really believe it, because I'm telling you, I'm now working with African communities who use our space on a regular basis. They have a key to the building. If you can go in. We have young people who use the space. We have them donating back to us, donating their funds back. So I'm just saying we need to be very mindful that we have been here longer, we have more experience, we have more resources, and we have to take that extra step. I believe we have to take that extra step. But that's, I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but as someone who works in the women's movement, I've always espoused that approach is that you must take extra steps to reach the marginalized communities, people who are not aware, people who have issues around access. You make that move to say, there's a problem here. I'm going to mitigate it by putting in place some steps to minimize the problem. So that's some of the things I would say. That don't get personal about it. Look at it as a bigger issue for the community. And what is the vision? If you have no vision, then you're going to make all these mistakes. You have to, I go to a grassroots organization coming from policy and leadership positions in my community, from government's position, to go back into a grassroots organization with Miss Brown telling me, why am I changing the color of the paint? And that's not how it's done. And people say, she's not going to stay. She's going to go because she has her big friends and her big politician people. She's just coming. Let's just watch. It's been 3 years. People can't believe I'm still here. I'm on the ground. I left the policy shop and I'm back in this down with my people in the basement of a banquet hall. And if it means to have to be swept up and somebody got to help, move this stuff out of the place, we work together. And that's my personal commitment, because I can't talk about Blackness and I'm only looking for high profile boards to be on. I went back into my community, and they kind of give me the, like, oh my God, I'm going to work with the community who sometimes are, the experiences can be challenging. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to big up myself, but I stuck it out. I've earned my stripe. I've earned the guy said, listen, by Madam President a beer for me now. Right? That is this is real. This is on the ground stuff I'm talking, right? Good. But I could have been on different boards as well. But I chose because I have a vision to help these people who came, saw, and conquered. How do I, when they sent me to university and I walk away and say, oh, well, they're I don't like those people. They're too low class. No, I came back and I'm there helping to say, okay, you don't know what's the term of when you talk about terms of reference. Well, this is a framework. What are you talking about? And now we are bringing the next generation in to build. And they're saying, I thought you just came here to position yourself politically, but I could see the passion that you bring and how you're scaling the organization. When I got there, we had no money in the bank left.
Okay. Right.
And now we are a full organization running, and with a team of people, bringing in all kinds of people back to the organization, helping to scale this organization. So we need to go back with the skill we have attained. These people work in whatever, cleaning people's houses, send us to university, and then we think we're too better to go back to help our community because they're too grassroots. I'm a testament that we need you in the grassroots community to help, to scale, to build, to amplify.
All right. I'm going to just catch up because there's a pile of comments that came in. So I just want to catch up here. So Charmaine is saying, yes, I agree that customer care and branding should be a focal point in re-strategizing for growth. DJ Renard says, we definitely want to see Hamilton restaurants participating in the Buy Blacks Restaurant Week. Should be 2020 spring edition, May 16th to 22nd. There's a question. I'll save that till the end. We definitely need to find ways to connect the old guards with the young generations. Otherwise, there is no legacy, and we keep reinventing the wheel. Charmaine, Breaking Bed is impactful indeed, as this collaboration at its best, which adds value to your programs and helps you achieve goals. Danny Stone, we have to have a vision for our communities as Black leaders and Black people. He also says, go ahead and big up yourself. You deserve it.
100%.
And Macmillan Group, it appears that female-led organizations have always experienced longevity and success in Black communities, not only here, but globally. Can you allude why this appears to be or may be the case? And then we'll get to that. There's two questions. That's one of them. The others sometimes are afraid of change, are stuck in their negative mentality. Oh, and then hold on your vision and they will follow, as you are indeed a great leader. You've earned your stripes. So few things, and we only have a limited amount of time. So let's talk about this first question. Can you allude why the Macmillan Group feels that female-led organizations seem to have more longevity? Your comments on that?
It's curious what you said that, because in the organization we have 6 females, 6 female leads, and we've just recruited two males. We were intentional. We're like, we have to get some men on this board. So it's a curious comment, but I think women, we work more collaboratively. I don't want to be to genderize, but I think we have a way to collaborate more collaborate better. And also, we are and we are the we keep our culture alive. We are the ones who really keep culture alive, I believe, as women across the world. We're culture keepers. So I think we are very committed to building our communities and to really, as a group, I mean, it's, I don't want to stereotype, I don't want the economy, man, man bad, woman good, but there are some attributes that women do possess around work, around collaborative leadership, more so expressed than it has expressed in our male counterparts. I think that's
That's
probably where.
an interesting comment that we'll have to bring up on another conversation. That is but you handled it well,
Thank
very
you.
well. You handled it fine. I think you answered this, but I'll bring it up. A question you may ask: is there a diverse group of people on your board?
The diversity of blackness on my board, yes.
Okay. And also here, females are sometimes more open and more nurturing, I think. All right.
I think vision is really important. And if you're all buying into the vision, that's a really good piece, right? The vision and really nurturing good relationships with each other. We start off our meetings every day. We do a check-in. How are you doing? We are caring for each other. What's happening not to go into detail, but for example, we thought, we always do a check-in on self, like, how are you? Let's do a deep breath. And get moving. These are small tactics that we use just to keep connecting and realizing what our vision is to build this organization, to build and support Black excellence in all its manifestations. So having a good handle on that is important, and get away the ego thing. It's got to constantly do the check on that. It's not easy.
Right.
That's personal development that we need to engage in ourselves. Aside from being on board, it's doing some personal development and doing an ego check-in on a regular basis. Why are you there? What's the purpose? Is it for your resume? Are you really deeply committed to our community?
And I find that actions typically draw that out. A lot of people can talk the talk, but it's when you see their actual actions and everyday work. Like you said, you're on the ground actually doing the work. So anybody that's observing sees your commitment. I feel like that's what attracted me to you, where I see you doing the work. And I was like, okay, how do I help? Or how do I even learn and be like that? So I just want to make sure and give you your flowers, as they say, while you're here, while we can talk to you. But the consistency factor, I think, is one piece that everybody should take away from this conversation. You talked about the hardships that the old guard faced, but they were consistent and persistent, and they worked to buy the buildings. And then now you coming in consistent on the ground, making sure that we're actually doing what's needed for our community. So I really applaud you, and I feel like I can learn so much, and everybody that's on this live right now is learning from you. So really appreciate all the work that you've been doing.
Thank you. And I just want to shout out to people who support me, because there have been days where I said, oh, why am I doing this? Because we handle funding, and barber and hairdresser style shops where conversations are had. And I've had to say, people, you have to be my soldier. Do not tell me anything. You just deal with it. If someone suggests something that is inappropriate, just respond to that. So I've had to create, and all of us as leaders have had to create systems around us to keep us going, where we have to develop also some kind of emotional shield where we're not really get hurt. But this, and also want to thank many people I call upon and say, hey, I can't do it. And they're like, and they say, so if you have no vision, you need to go. That's what people have said to me. If there's no vision, you need to go.
Yeah.
If you have a vision, you need to stay. And what is that vision? Bringing people. So that's really been helpful. Like Dr. Gary Warner in Hamilton, Dr. Dauphin from the Haitian Association, many other people. I talked to Jean Augustine, and she says there are too many times we stop. We're so quick to stop and walk away.
Very true.
Because it's not working, and this person drives me crazy. I'm done with these people. You can't do that.
Well, I'll just add on for you some suggestions. When you have those moments, ask yourself, who are you fighting for? And then another thing is, what happens when you do it, and also who wins when you do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So those are the kind of thoughts I keep in my head. And thank you for that reminder. Because
Right.
we all, doesn't matter how the experience we have, there are days when we start saying, oh my gosh, you know, um,
Yeah,
we got,
exactly.
yeah, that's the nature of the beast. When
Yep.
you put yourself in this kind of position, you're going to get comments and things that are,
Yeah, but but
but
they
that's
but
okay. That's
but they
okay.
but they don't make statues for critics,
Exactly.
right? They
So
don't make
that's
statues for
really
critics.
exactly. So I just want to encourage those of you who are out there working not to give up. Not We are quick to start taking the banner down the street to march, and then the follow-up action, we don't know what we're doing. So we need to really be strategic,
Symbolism.
right? Symbolism. So that's something I would, as a legacy piece, I would say, that we need to be strengthened. We need to really develop that piece, the follow-up action, to
Right.
take it to the next level. And just want to acknowledge the elders piece. Yeah, one time Matthew Green, our city councilor, said to me once, Evelyn, we need to bring some more young people in. And I'm like, what are you saying? And I heard this voice in my head, like, okay. And it was not easy to hear that. When you started saying we're not doing a good job, and I think, we're not. So now
Okay.
we are intentional around bringing voices of young people. We have in our office 4 staff, very youthful, and really helping. They drive the agenda. They do the work with support from people like myself and others. Really acknowledging that and breathing and let them do it. They can do it. So this it's something I've learned as well. Like, okay,
Yes.
to do this. Like, okay, let
Re-
them do it.
well,
It really is
remember,
excellent.
every success needs a successor.
Exactly. So the young people need to be there, and the old guards. I think want to convince them that the organization is going to grow, and also have a space for them. They kind of soften up, and we have a space with men play domino at the organization, and I went down there the first little bit, like, okay, we got to get this place cleaned up, we got to do this, we got to do that. And they're all looking at me like, what is she doing? You're this person coming in and trying to you're one of those new MBAs come into your company and try to redesign. So I kind of laugh. Now. My friend, colleague of mine in Jamaica says, leave them alone. Well, let them play their domino the way they want to make their noise and whatever. And I've had to learn to say, that's not where you need to focus. So those are just lessons I've learned in working really at the grassroots level with Mr. Johnny and Mr. Brown and Mr. Hyatt down in the basement at the organization, is how to know what to focus on and how to and then over time, like I walk down there now and someone say, oh, we're buying you a beer, we're buying you a wine, what are you drinking? Before I walk like, who is she? Let's see now.
Here she
right?
comes again.
3 years to gain their trust. And so I think the old guards, there is an openness if you work with them. And I know it sounds really, back in the day, I'm like, let's get rid of them. Let's forget about it. Let's do it. Let's do the change. And I know, you know what? Let's one step at a time. I am not going to go to their building and change their sign. We have changed some things already around making more Afrocentric, bringing, the continental piece in terms of our design of our signs outside. Am I going to change a name right away? No, we're going to have a conversation, and we're going to tell them why it's important for part of their legacy to do that. And also talking about establishing a scholarship in their name when they die. One of the things I want to talk about it real quickly is the legacy planning. There's no planning for legacy. We do not go to our members and say, listen, we know you're going to give your kids most of your money, which you should, or wherever, but think about the legacy you may want to leave, be in a scholarship in somebody's name, or a fund you want to establish with your organization. So I have to work with these people. We have to work with them to gain the trust to say, you want to change my name, you want to do this, now you want me to give you your money. We're going to work with the community and say, now they feel comfortable enough to say, I want to put the ACCA on a part of my estate planning, as opposed to And we don't talk about it. I think we need to have conversation about that piece, but that's another conversation. I mean, I've done it with my organization. Whether or not I'm upset with them, but I leave or not, they will get a small check or some kind of check when I pass on. So how do we build that in our community? Have that conversation, Ryan. That's something you should be doing in the next future, because there's tons of money in our community that we don't really capitalize on around estate planning for our community organizations.
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm afraid to tell the team that I did that as well for ACBN, and be like, I have to start watching your back.
Right. We have to set examples so people know. But these are some of the things that I'd like us to ponder as we grow and so forth. I've went in so many topic areas today. I'm sorry if I confuse anyone. I was all over the place. But
No,
I really so much to say.
No, it's all right. That's why I said we have to have you back for a round 2.
100%.
So before we let you go, we're just going to put up the organization information on the screen here: website, Facebook, Twitter, email, and because there's so many platforms, I have to give a second. Also, the Instagram and the phone number. I'd like to say thank you so much for taking time to share with us this morning, and let alone we have to have you back just for the glasses.
I have a collection.
Okay,
nice,
I was going. All right, so you have a glass. Oh, that's very nice. So the glasses are great. Well, look, thank you for everything you have done, you are doing, and will be doing. And when I mean you, I mean your community in Hamilton. I guess I have to get 2 passports, one for Brampton and now one for Hamilton, to come out to both. And we just want to wish you grace, and remember to not only manage your time, but manage your energy.
Ashe.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. Great conversation there.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Any take homes from that, Dr. Ryan?
Yeah, the biggest one, like I said, that consistency. It's like we can always talk the talk, but when it gets down to doing the work and not giving up on our people, it's so easy. I've heard other elders talk about, listen, I'm done trying to, I don't believe there's a community, like you might say, and it's not something that I can spend my energy on. And hey, everybody has their own kind of decisions to make in their life. But just like Evelyn said, if you are for the community winning, you can't give up. As difficult as it may be, that's where that true sense of unity to me is unconditional love. It's like, yes, we're going to have bumps in the road and disagreements. And even, hey, there might be a Jamaican restaurant that doesn't have good customer service. You can't dismiss all Jamaicans because of one bad experience. And so hopefully we can keep that consistency and keep pushing, because I do feel that we're on the right path. And so we just have to see it right to the end and run through the finish line, even though there's technically no finish line, but we can't ease up. We have to keep consistent.
Good stuff. So Angie says, great conversation. Danny Stone, great conversation, gentlemen. Well, we just steered the ship. Ms. Myrie drove the ship. She was the star of the show. We just sat with you all in the audience and enjoyed the knowledge bombs along the way.
Exactly.
What's up for the weekend, Ryan?
So our finishing of Black Boys Code, the 3-part series, Introduction to Machine Learning. So they're going to be finishing off their apps and presenting them. I'm super excited. But yeah, Sunday we're doing the Detailing Nights event with Neighborino. So look out for more
green shirts. Look out for the green shirts, man.
Yes, more community style car cleaning events on a small scale. Hey, if you live in a building, reach out to us. We'd love to do a mini event with your residents. So I'm looking forward to that. And so what are you up to, sir?
Well, before we get to me, because I'm not all that. Sophia Jacob from Ottawa, thank you. Great conversation, Sophia. Folks. Ryan should run for mayor of Brampton. Well, it's open because the current mayor of Brampton is running for the federal Conservative Party leadership. So there's an opening there. So, Klaus, if you have Ryan's email address, send him a line. And
send 50,000 other votes to it.
She hasn't received your calendar or legacy poster yet. Okay, we will look into that.
Oh, please. I have your email, Sophia. I will check on that.
And
Thank
legacy and the calendar, I will reach out to
you.
the frequency event promotions to make sure that that's taken care of. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. For myself, what's going on tomorrow night? I have State of Things with Aisha K. Staggers and Jill Jones, and we're doing an Ask Us Anything. So we do this every
cool.
3 or 4 months, so people can ask us anything. So that's live tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And then Sunday afternoon, bi-weekly, we have roundtable. Well, every Sunday at 5 p.m. we do Black Canada Talking. And this Sunday, it's our bi-weekly roundtable. We have our scheduled guests, Elle Jones, Cesar Nadima Musa, and also Sarah Youngo. And we have a new panelist joining us on Sunday. I'm not going to say who it is, but I won't give any clues because that'll be giving it away. But we have someone who is, let me just say, no, I can't. Because even if I give a little bit of a clue, people will know who it is. But let's just say him and his wife are very prominent in the Canadian Black digital space. I'll just leave it at that. And I saw the person knocking in the background. I know who that is, by the way, who was knocking in the background. But and we're going to be having our bi-weekly roundtable with Elle, Sarah, Cesar, and this gentleman, him and his wife, I would say the two most prominent Black Canadians online in the digital space. I'll just leave it at that. So that's coming up.
All right, I like that.
So that's coming up on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Follow the Dr. Vibe Show either on Facebook or YouTube. Subscribe and you'll get notification on that. You can also watch replays of this on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook, also ACBN Facebook. And yes, today it actually broadcasts to the Ryan Oneil Knight on LinkedIn. It also broadcasts on the YouTube pages of the ACBN site and Ryan Oneil site. Now we gotta have to ask our provider, see if we can get more platforms because we're full.
Yeah. Okay.
We're both full. So we're leaving it at that. Look, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you have a great weekend. And always, as we close out, I like to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And always remember, manage your time, but more as important, if not more important, manage your energy. We will see you on Monday. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith and walk good.